Hi guys, I am Kenya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. So I was watching YouTube as usual and a video came up on my recommended and it was called We Are Different. And it was by a girl named Seren. Now I don't follow her, but I do hear that she's controversial and I haven't went back to her channel to check out any other videos. I just watched this one called We're Different. And she was basically talking about, as far as Africans and African Americans, like we are different. And, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm in agreement because I've always said that. But it's like when I say it out loud, people look at me like I'm kind of crazy. But she has some very interesting points. And I was like, okay, I feel where she's coming from. And she identifies as Black American, and so do I. Like, you will always hear me say I'm Black American. Like, I don't say I'm African American. And I feel like I'm American first, and then, of course I'm of African descent. I'm not out here trying to Rachel Dolezal y'all, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that. I know I'm of African descent, but at the same time, I feel like we are different. And basically, she was sent articles by her subscribers and people on Instagram to check out an article that a Nigerian girl wrote about how proud her family was about their hand in the slave trade back in Nigeria. And so that sort of set Seren off. I felt that she was very passionate when she did her video. I'm going to link her video below here so you can check it out, but I'm gonna warn you, the girl curses like a sailor. That really doesn't bother me. I just feel like that's just how some people express themselves, and that might bother you. You might be offended by it, so I'm just going to warn you. Click on it at your own risk. And she had two articles linked at the bottom of her video, and she had the article that she was referring to, which I printed out and I had to read it because I'm like, okay, she was very passionate about this video. Let me, read the article for myself and see what I take from it, because, when I read the article, I might, have a different perception about the whole article than she did. And then there was another article called Black Like Them. So let's start off with this one. My great grandmother, the Nigerian slave trade. I'm going to try to link to this article below too, so just in case you guys are curious like myself and you like to go straight to the source and read things for yourself, you'll be able to do that. Now the girl who wrote this article, her name is Adeobi Trisha and Wabani. Now I tried, so all my Nigerians that follow me, my bad. But I'm gonna put her name here. And this article was published July 15th, 2018. So when I read this article, there was like a lot of other things in the article that like caught my attention. Now she starts off the article strong, my family, they're Nigerian, they were proud slave traders, and then once the article progresses, like the family wasn't as proud, which I thought was interesting. Like, why even put this article out and start off talking about how you guys were so proud to be slave traders, and then the end of it, I was just like, by the end of it, I just was like dying. I'm just gonna say that. So basically, this girl, I'm just gonna sum it up in my own words. I did highlight a few key points that I wanted to touch on so I don't forget anything. So if you see me looking down, I'm just looking down at the paper, because I hate when I do a whole video and then I go to edit it and I'm thinking like, damn, like I leave out really important things that I needed to say or wanted to say. So basically, she is Igbo. So I'm going to put Igbo here. And if you don't know, Nigeria is composed of 3 different tribes: Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. I know Africa is a continent. It's not a country. I know there's 54 different countries on the continent of Africa. I know there are so many different ethnic groups and tribes and languages, and everybody do their own thing. I understand that. This is why I made a point to let you know that this girl is Igbo and she's from Nigeria. So this is her Igbo Nigerian experience, okay? And I'm trying to think, I don't remember if she was born here or there. So I'm not sure. So she's talking about her place in Nigeria, her family's home in Nigeria, and she says, down the hill near the river in an area now overrun by bush is the grave of my most celebrated ancestor, okay? My great grandfather, and Wabani Ogogo Oriaku. Okay? So he was a slave trader who gained power and wealth by selling other Africans across the Atlantic. He was a renowned trader, my father told me proudly, okay? He dealt in palm produce and human beings, all right? So long before, so she goes on to say, long before the Europeans came to America and started, they started trading slaves into the Americas, that Africans, always had slaves. So say for instance you committed a crime, you raped somebody, you murdered somebody, your punishment would be, become a slave, or they would like kill you or something like that. Or if you committed a crime in a whole different village and your family or the people in the village, they don't ever want to see you again. They will send you off into slavery, and you would be your slave or whatever. And what else? Like tribes that would be warring and in conflict, some tribes would kidnap people from other tribes and then bring them back to their tribes and enslave them. So slavery was going on long before Europeans touched the continent of Africa. Now in the article, she talks about the Dutch Trading Company being one of the biggest African slave traders. She talks about the Portuguese and the British, which is, England. I don't really remember reading any other slave trading companies in the article. So she says in the late 19th century, so that would be like the late 1800s, he carried a slave trading license from the Royal Niger Company, an English corporation that ruled southern Nigeria. So this English corporation ruled southern Nigeria, right? And I think she says in the article, she mentioned about 1.5 million Africans being traded from, the coast of Africa over into the Americas over the years that the slave trade was going on. And that seems like a total lot. And for me to like fathom or to think about. And then she goes on to say this. Okay, so the descendants of freed slaves in southern Nigeria are called the Ohu. They still face significant stigma. So people that were slaves to other, Nigerians, they were freed after a while, because after a while, they started abolishing slavery over in Africas and the Americas and different parts of the world. So if you are a descendant of a slave in Nigeria, say for instance, not necessarily in America, if you're following me, I know this is getting kind of confusing, but say for instance, I don't want to say because I don't want to come back in another lifetime as a slave now. I'm not going to use myself as an example. So say for instance, someone is a slave in Nigeria, right? And then they are now free slaves. They're now free, right? They were born a slave in Nigeria to other Nigerians, and now they are free. They are considered uhu, and they face stigma. They are not allowed to intermarry with, other, freeborn Africans or Nigerians. Let's just go with Nigerians for this conversation. They aren't allowed to run for politics and all those things. And then she also said that Igbo culture forbids them from marrying freeborn people and denies them traditional leadership titles such as the Izzy and the Ozo. I'm going to put that here. And she also goes on to say that the Osu is an untouchable caste descended from the slaves who serve as shrines, and they face even more severe persecution. Alright? And she also went on to say that people who served as slaves, they were buried alive with their Nigerian slave masters so that they could serve them in another lifetime. When I read that part, I was like, I had to clutch my invisible pearls, like, what? That's crazy. That is so crazy. And so this is where it gets interesting. So she goes on to say this, right? So in old African traditions, they, have their deities that they worship. We all must have heard of Oshun, unless you've been living under a rock, Ogun or Botala, their own deities. So she basically was saying that their family felt like they were cursed. So this is in 1992, people in my hometown became concerned about several unexplained deaths of young people because they felt like their involvement with the slave trade was like coming back to bite them in the asses. So after a period of communal prayer, people gathered in the village hall and voted to discard the community's historic name, right? So this historic name was Umohu Jemiz. I'm going to put it here because I know I jacked it up. which means children of Ojam, which is the king. Ojam is the king. Ojam was a deity whom the townspeople had worshipped before Christianization, and to whom they had made regular human sacrifices, okay? They chose a new name, Umujiizi, which means children who hold the kingship, to reflect our severance from the atrocities of the past. So she went from being proud, you know, and now they are trying to reject their involvement. So I find it crazy how, you know, her family, you know, was heavily involved in a, you know, slave trade, and then she talks about Christianization. So they were forced, their Christian religion was forced upon them. So, like, I don't know. Like, how much power do you really have? How powerful are you if, you know, these British colonizers were able to come over to Nigeria and force their religion upon you? Even though Christianity was like the dominant religion in whatever region she lived in, I'm not saying it's all over Nigeria, all over the Igbo, you know, region of Nigeria, but wherever she is, she's saying basically that the Christian religion was more dominant. And basically many churches now offer services similar to the old rituals, in which a pastor replaces the juju priest and Jesus replaces the pagan god. This way, evil forces can be exposed without Christians engaging in idolatry. Alright? Deliverance usually requires a family to pray, fast, and renounce atrocities. I find it so funny because this is the same exact thing that slaves were doing in the South, and this gave rise to what we call hoodoo. And also in Louisiana, slaves were, you know, using Catholic saints to cover up their African traditions, and that gave rise to, you know, Louisiana voodoo, and, you know, same thing as in Haiti. So, like, you know, she talks, you know, as if they are, you know, superior, but in fact, they were no better than African slaves in America. They were, I don't know, that part, when I read that, it cracked me the hell up. Just know that. Okay. So it's crazy. You're in your motherland where you are basically, Christianity has taken over, and you can't even, you know, pray to the deities. That's your natural birthright in your own place, but you are proudly talking about this whole slave trade situation. I don't know if I made sense by what I just said, but I hope you guys got the drift. It's kind of hard to explain. So basically she was just saying, like, at the end of the article, she says, inside a church, a priest presided over a 2-hour prayer session. At the end, he pronounced blessings on us and proclaimed a new beginning for the Nwabani family. After the ceremony, my family members discussed making it a yearly ritual. This sort of thing opens up the mercy of God, my mother Patricia said. People did all these evil things, but they don't talk about it. The more people confess and renounce their evil past, the more cleansing will come to the land. And this author, she wrote a novel called Buried Beneath the Baobab Tree. And basically it's going to be published this September, and she's basically going to be talking about her family traditions in that book. And she also discussed how slave trading was going on even in the 1940s, but since it was illegal in the US and like the UK, like they were still shipping slaves from Africa in the 1940s. The 1940s, that's not even that long ago. It's not even 100 years ago, but they were going to like Cuba and Brazil. Hence, Brazil has the largest African population in the whole world, and then Nigeria is number 2. Peep that. And also after that video went off, another video came on YouTube, and it was of this guy, I can't remember his YouTube channel, but he basically was visiting a slave port in Africa, and you know, these places were called like the door of no return. They had them in Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, and my thing is, like, we could see like all of these buildings where they so-called kept these slaves, but where the boats? I want to see a slave boat. Where are the slave boats? Like, I have so many questions about that. And yeah, I thought this was very interesting, and this is why I always say that we're different. And I said in one of my other videos, like, I always go back and forth with my cousin. It's like, oh, let's take the ancestry DNA test. I want to see what type of African I am. But then at the end of the day, it's like, do I really care? Like, do I really care? Like, do I want to celebrate a place that freaking exiled my ancestors and sold them and had them come over here into the Americas and work as slaves? Do I really want to celebrate that? If I found that I'm Nigerian, am I going to suddenly, you know what I'm saying, start, you know, celebrating Nigeria culture? Like, am I going to want to start making jollof rice and stuff like that? And like I always say, like, I don't ever see anybody, like, I watch a lot of those DNA tests on YouTube just to see people's reactions. Like, it's exciting to, you know, just go through the journey with people as they are opening up their results for the first time and learning what they are. But it's like, I've never seen like someone from the continent of Africa like, oh yeah, I took this test because, you know, I'm just trying to connect to some of my long lost ancestors in the Americas, the Caribbeans, you know, or whatever. Never. So why would I be so pressed as a person of obviously African descent to want to, you know, figure that out? And I've always said that, like, we are totally different. We're totally different. We're different cultures, like, period. And it's like, black people, we are here in the Americas. We created our own cultures, our own music, our own way of doing things. And I'm sorry, Black Americans, we poppin'. We definitely poppin'. And I remember having a conversation with a friend like 7 or 8 years ago, and he knows I have a YouTube channel. I don't know if he found it, but if you're watching this video and you remember this conversation, I have a friend that is a first generation in Nigeria. I think he was born here, went back to Nigeria for a few years, and came back here or whatever. And we were talking about just, you know, Nigeria, his culture. You know, I'm always curious, you know, what tribe is your family from? You know, I like asking those questions. And I was like, that's pretty cool. You know exactly where you're descended from. And then he goes on to say, yeah, you don't know who you are or something like that. This is not verbatim, but he said something to the nature of, yeah, because my people, they sold yours. And started laughing. So I sort of looked at him like, what? Like, what? And then he just like stopped. Not for nothing. These are the same types of people that like to, you know, confront, you know, us Black Americans as adults and tell us how mean we were in school because we called them African booty scratchers and whatnot. And honestly, I never talk to kids like that. I never call kids those types of names. But when you saying stuff like that, of course, like, you probably were in school popping junk and you got what you got, period. And now that I learned about the Ohu class of people, let me find out that you really are a descendant of a slave, and now you coming to America popping off and popping junk. I'm gonna start asking people that are Nigerian who talk with an air of superiority, are you, you know, part of the Ohu class? Are you? I'm petty, I know, but I'm just saying. But I'm just thinking, like, for you to just sit there and say and laugh about it that your people sold my people, that's not funny. Because slavery is still going on. I don't know if you guys watch the news, but Libya has the biggest slave trade going on right now. And nobody is really saying anything. Like, it's public knowledge. It was on CNN, for crying out loud. But, like, nobody is really stepping in to stop it. You got Black men and women that are disappearing in the United States every day, and they never come back. And there's really no thorough investigations going on with that. So, like, is there some underground slave trade that we don't really know about? Like, and then my boy was telling me about how containers of Asian chicks would end up in Staten Island, New York when he was like a kid. And they would be trafficking girls from like Asia here for like sex trafficking them. Like, there's slavery still going on. So you make a joke like that, even though you are Nigerian, you were born here, and, you know, don't think that you can't get snatched up and taken off. You know, we all hear these stories about Oregon harvesting, so I don't think nothing is funny about that, period. And I feel like that at that moment, I knew I was different from a person, you know, from Africa. And I've been calling myself a Black American for the longest. And I also had an argument. I had this boyfriend, right? Let me just tell you the deets, okay? So his mom is from South Africa. His dad is from Denmark. He grew up in Denmark with his dad. And foreigners, I feel like they have this thing where they want to tell you who you are as a person. You can't tell me who I am. I know who I am as a person. So you can't tell me who I am. You know what I'm saying? This is why I don't really subscribe to telling Dominicans how Black they are or whatever. Let them, they got their own culture. I'm sure they know they are of African descent, but they have their own culture over in the Dominican Republic, and they must feel like, they are different, just like I feel like I'm different, and they have their right to feel that way. period. So I sort of get why they always are like, oh, we're Indio, or I'm just Dominican. I mean, it's obviously they know they're like mestizos, they are mixed, they have African, you know, blood, and Native American and Spaniard, so however, whatever is over there. But at the same time, just like people in Louisiana, they call themselves Creoles. They know that they're of African descent, but that's what they want to call themselves. Let them people call themselves who they want. Let them label themselves how they feel, how they see fit. So he was like, yeah, I remember I went somewhere with you and your African cousins, and I was like, I'm not African. He said, yes, you are. I was like, dude, I'm of African descent, but I'm not African. And I'm trying to explain to him, I don't know anybody in Africa. I don't have any direct descendants from Africa. I don't speak an African language. I can't prepare an African dish. So if I want to be called a Black American, please let me be Black American. And then I go, if anything, you're more African than I am because your mother is straight from Africa. So you know you have direct descendants from South Africa. And you could probably go to South Africa and hang with cousins, you know. He goes, no, I'm more Danish than I'm African. He's going to tell me he's more Danish than he is African. But I got to be African. I just can't be American. So with that being said, you foreigners, like, that was nice. Well, people from other countries that are coming to the Americas and you don't understand, you know, Black Americans and our culture, you can't tell us how to identify. You can't tell us who we are. You can't label us, you know, as people, because that really upsets me. You can't tell me who I am. If I want to be a Black American, let me be that. Let me be that. And Jesse Jackson, thank you for the suggestion of the whole African American phrase you coined, but you could keep that. Was it Jesse Jackson that coined that phrase? I believe so. Yeah, you could keep that. And as I make this video, I don't speak on behalf of every Black American or African American in this country. I'm only speaking for myself and how I feel, because I'm sure that not all Black Americans in this country feel the way that I feel. So I'm just saying how I feel from my perspective. And I'm sure there are other Black people in this country that feel the same way. And so, yeah, that's that. And so the second article that she had linked was called Black Like Them by Malcolm Gladwell. And the author of this article talks about racism in between, you know, West Indians and Black Americans, and basically how employers basically favor, you know, Africans and West Indians and things like that. They're considered the good Blacks, and people that are, you know, Black American are, you know, considered like, you know, those, you know, not so good Blacks. And I really feel like this is because people watch a lot of TV and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of people just don't understand our Black American culture, period. And why we do things, why we say things, and, you know, just our culture in general. And so, you know, when you don't understand something, you fear it, or you say it's wrong, and this, that, and the third. So anyway, so I have a highlighted paragraph. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is what I want to talk about. So in 1994, Philip Kasinitz, a sociologist at Manhattan's Hunter College, and Jan Rosenberg, who teaches at Long Island University, conducted a study of the Red Hook area of Brooklyn, and they found that employers were unwilling to hire minorities from the neighborhood, but instead looked more favorable upon immigrants. And I feel like sort of that could be true. Now, my name is SocailteNoel. And when I write my name and when I put my name on resumes, I put the 2 dots above the E. I'm going to put exactly here how I type my name on resumes. And I feel like a lot of employers, they do think I'm foreign. And when I show up to the interview, they look at me and they go, they smile. And they go, oh my gosh. Like, I swear, right? People love my name for some reason. That is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, are you from Kenya? That's the first thing they say. I'm like, no. Are your parents from Kenya? No. And then this is what part that kills me. Are you sure? Wouldn't I know if my parents were from Kenya? So why'd they give you that name? My name is such a conversation starter because my dad named me. He just liked it. And then my last name is Noel. So it's always, you know, are you like Creole? Are your parents from France? And, you know, I make it all fancy the way I write it. I'm like, no. So they automatically think I'm a foreigner from the rip. I always get this. Always. Once a week, a white person is asking me the origin of my name and is very, you know, interested. And, like, I swear, my name, SocailteNoel, that's a conversation starter. That's a conversation starter, for real, for real. So with that being said, that's just my 2 cents, my viewpoints on the, you know, just the topic at hand. And yo, add your 2 cents in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys think about everything that I said. And be nice, because I'm a very nice person. I just have a lot of opinions. A lot are unpopular and different because I'm a free thinker. And, you know, I'm able to think on my own, and, you know, that's that. So if you're here to the end of this video, you might as well go ahead and hit the subscribe button. You know what I'm saying? So you will know every time that I post a video, and you could come and join the conversation with me. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next YouTube video. Toodles!